What's better, high sensitivity speakers or low sensitivity speakers? Well, I've been on a high sensitivity speaker kick in the last 6 months or so, starting with some Klipsch reviews, but I've always had a thing about high sensitivity speakers. I've owned Zoo speakers for many, many years, and I like avant-garde speakers a lot, and I like JBL horns a lot. I mean, I like horn speakers, I like high sensitivity speakers. I do. But I also like low sensitivity speakers. I like the TAD ME1. I really love a Magnapan 0.7. Both of those speakers, the TAD and the ME1, the TAD and the Magnapan, they both have very low sensitivity ratings of around 85 and 86 dB for each of those speakers. Now, my current, let's say, reference is the Klipsch Forte 3. Has a sensitivity rating of 99 dB. So it's like 15, almost 15 dB difference. That's gigantic. And it means it can play very high sensitivity speakers like the Klipsch, or even the $550 Klipsch RP600M. That's at 96 dB sensitivity. So it's not that high sensitivity speakers, really good ones like these I'm talking about, are expensive. No, here you go, $550 a pair. It's a killer speaker. My Audiophiliac Speaker of the Year. That's how much I liked it. And I have to point out, I don't have a Audiophiliac Speaker of the Year every year. It's only when I have really, truly enthusiastic about a speaker that I call it the Speaker of the Year. Now, let's define what this means. So a high sensitivity speaker means it plays louder with, let's say, 1 watt, to use that as a reference, than a low sensitivity speaker. So the 600M is 96 dB sensitive, and the ELAC Unify UB5, similar size bookshelf speaker, has a sensitivity rating of 80 to 85 dB for 1 watt. Now that means that's a 10 dB difference. The ELAC needs 10 times the power to play at a given volume level. So if the ELAC would be loud with 100 watts going into it, the 600M would only need 10 watts. So 10 times difference. So we're not talking about subtle differences here. But the low sensitivity speaker, that really is the brainchild of a man named Edgar Wiltshire. He invented the acoustic suspension, also known as a sealed box speaker. Before Edgar did that, in the early 50s, all speakers were open or ported or vented. They were not sealed boxes. And Edgar had this idea about creating the sealed box speaker with a couple of goals in mind. Number one being that a small box speaker could produce more, deeper, better, tighter bass than an open box speaker. So he went around to manufacturers and said, look, you can make smaller speakers, make more bass. People will prefer smaller speakers to larger speakers. And it's amazing. And I just want you to, pay for royalties. I'll license this patent to you, and you can make these speakers. Incredibly enough, especially in hindsight, nobody thought this was a good idea. Like, none of the speaker companies he went to were signing up with Edgar. So Edgar said, okay, I get it. He started his own company. It was called Acoustic Suspension. It was called Acoustic Research. Started in 1954. By 1960, Acoustic Research had something like 30% of the entire American speaker market. I mean, it was hugely successful because he was making smaller speakers than his competitors that made the same or more bass as his competitors' larger speakers. So it was win-win for Edgar, and win-win for Acoustic Research, and win-win for the customers who wanted smaller speakers that produced more and better bass. So the decades roll on, and speakers overall get more efficient, and port designs become more sophisticated, and things get better on so many counts. But here we are in 2018, and we still have this dichotomy between high sensitivity speakers and low sensitivity speakers. And now that I'm in this mode, I keep thinking about it, and you know, a lot of people who, let's say, haven't really lived with this, they associate high sensitivity, really extreme high sensitivity speakers like the Klipsch Forte I have, with, you know, wham, bam, powerful, big dynamics. And it can do that. But it's also about the expressiveness of, let's say, a singer's phrasing, or a piano, the touch on a piano, that sort of thing. Little details like hearing the ambience of a recording venue. You know, you hear into the recording more with high sensitivity speakers. One of my friends has been living with a very low sensitivity speaker for years. I think he said 20 years. And he recently heard a Klipsch Heresy. It's $2,000 Klipsch with a horn tweeter and a compression horn mid-range. And he heard this Heresy, and he was floored by that quality of its aliveness, of its dynamics. And he's seriously considering buying the Heresy, or possibly even the Forte, because he was so blown away. He was like, how could this speaker just have this life that my very low sensitivity speaker utterly lacks? Well, I don't know if you would go that far with utterly, but the contrast between the two was extreme. And he's seriously considering getting a set of horns. So it's like, if you haven't heard a horn speaker lately in a good system, you know, reasonably well set up, you really don't know what you're missing. I advise you to check it out. And as I said, they don't have to be expensive. Matter of fact, my horn odyssey started with the Klipsch R51M, which is $250 a pair. It's a very small horn speaker made by Klipsch. So it has nothing to do with it being overly expensive to get into this super high sensitivity way of listening. But, you know, backing up a second, low sensitivity speakers have a lot going for them. I mean, I'm looking up right now at the Harbeth P3 ESR 40th anniversary speaker. It's a small speaker, maybe 12 inches high. It makes wonderful bass. It's a wonderful sounding speaker. I am working on a review. I did a review of the original P3 ESR many years ago. This is an update. This is the 40th anniversary. I don't have the original to compare it against. But I can just tell you that this is a wonderful small speaker. And part of the reason it's so good is because it's a sealed box design. An inefficient speaker that needs gobs of power to sound really good. But it does sound really good. So I'm not saying that low sensitivity speakers are inherently bad. I'm saying what low sensitivity speakers ultimately give up is dynamic life and that kind of live quality that you get from high sensitivity speakers. But in exchange for that, you do get more bass. And people, last time I checked, seem to like speakers with lots of bass, or high quality bass, not just quantity, but quality of bass. And low sensitivity speakers can be flatter in their frequency response. They have more complex crossovers than high sensitivity speakers. There is no clear winner. They're just coming to speaker design and what the expectations are from different perspectives. I think ultimately, if you consider yourself a pretty serious audiophile, you should spend some of your life living with a very high sensitivity speaker, like a zoo. It doesn't have to be a horn. It could be a zoo speaker, or it could be a Klipsch or a JBL or whatever. And one of the other things about Klipsch is because they've been making them so long, there's lots of them on the used market. So you can buy one of the big Klipsch horns for not very much money. Look around on eBay for Fortes or Cornwalls. Not very much money at all. Anyway, so if you guys have experience with living with both, you've lived with low sensitivity speakers and high sensitivity speakers, I want to hear your voices in the comments section below. So my name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, and it does come up daily. So please subscribe. And when you subscribe, click the little notification bell so you'll be notified every time there's a new, exciting chapter of the Audiophiliac Daily Show. And seriously, if you like these things, check out my Patreon page, which is at www.patreon.com patreon.com/audiophiliac, and I will thank you very much in advance for that.